Hello. Let's try and find this portfolio. Here we go. Hi, so I'm Greg. I work at Creative Assembly. I have worked in the games industry since 2005. I first got a job at Electronic Arts and I worked on Burnout Paradise, followed by Harry Potter, The Order of the Phoenix, which is like a little kids game. And I worked at QA. I don't know if you guys know anything about QA. It's just like a games testing job, essentially. So it's like I was like kind of a cocktail waiter, and I was just like I'd finished university and I had a bad portfolio, and I then I got into the games industry. Just like I'll just do anything. Just let me just. So I soon found out I was really good at spotting like all these issues, like texture problems and. So like the guys are really keen to sort of keep me on, so I was sort of like just going through the levels and identifying problems with all the models and meshes and stuff like that. And then I ended up getting a job at Creative Assembly, and I was like surrounded by all the professional artists, and I was just like these guys were awesome. And I was just like, here you go, like look at my portfolio, like what do you think of my work like this? And they were just like, okay, just bin it. And I was just like, okay. So I then had to sit at home, and I met a few people there. When I was at uni, there was no such thing as normal maps. I don't know if you guys know how assets are made and stuff things. So there's like no normal maps or something. So all this technology had increased so much by the time I'd left uni that I basically had to kind of start from scratch, which was a bit intimidating for me, but it is what I needed to do. Personally, you guys might be like amazing and I hate you, and I'll be like, okay. So so then I was like, I managed to get my portfolio together, and this is kind of what, if you want to make a games portfolio, what the guy I met this guy at work, and he was just like, okay, what you kind of need, because I was trying to get an environment art job. But this kind of works with character art or 2D art or animation, probably cinematics work. So here this guy's got like a few props, and he's got a few scenes. Looks like he's got a level as well, and he's got some substance work, which is good for like showing off like the fact he can use a piece of software and stuff like that. A few complete scenes as well, like wow pieces. And so you kind of need like 2 or 3 really nice pieces, a few props, and just like don't just have a portfolio just like of machine guns or like like there's some people like just guns or tanks, like just every single tank, something like that. It's like have a bit of a diversity if you're going for an environment art job. But then like I've seen like the character artists and stuff. If you want to make characters, like don't just shove like a tree in there or something. Try and tailor. If you're going for like a specific job, try and tailor your portfolio towards that. So 2D art, just get your, like you say, like the best 2D pieces, or how. Anyway, so what was I talking about? I managed to get my portfolio together. I did like 2 or 3 props. I did a few buildings, and then I started just showing my work to like all the art directors, and they were kind of like, I don't know, they were all right about it, but I just kept showing, if you do this, just keep messaging and emailing art directors and maybe get some feedback about how you can improve. If you are interested in it, just annoy them, because that will make, hopefully you get some feedback. You can message me or something like that. Just if you want to ever get any feedback about your work, just kind of try and find some people just to kind of bounce some stuff off, because it's kind of like working in isolation is like horrible. So I recommend kind of annoying some art directors. And eventually I was like, look, I will do anything, so I just don't have to test games anymore. This is my personal way into the industry. You don't have to follow this or whatever. And the director, and it was years I was doing this for, and then suddenly it was like the 2-bus theory. It's like both the console team and the Total War team both wanted me to kind of do some work for them. Anyway, so So let's go through this guy's portfolio and see what we can see what's going on here. So I love these references. So I don't know whether this is meant to be some sort of like RPG, something like a MOBA game. It looks like a fantasy game to me, so I'm going to guess it's some sort of loot crate or something like that. I think personally, I would love it if like the detail was pumped out on like he's got some nice stuff, but with the references, like I'd like to see some more chunky stuff in this, like kind of make it stand out a bit. Like some of these shapes are not exactly like I think they could just be pushed a little bit more, like kind of like this really, if you look at filigree and stuff like that, references of filigree, like gold work, like the curves on them are really nice, and I would make these like all these sections fat and make it look like a really appealing thing to go and open this chest.
Excuse me, is this a 3D object or a 2D image?
This is a 3D object, and if you ever put stuff on Artstation that is 3D, I would recommend just using like Sketchfab or something, where you can kind of zoom around the model and you can kind of see the geometry and how you've made it. So your normal maps, your specular gloss and all this sort of stuff. I don't know if you know about like, if you've ever built any game assets, like all the texture channels that you need to use, put those all in here so that people are going to look at them. And because if you don't, people might just be like, well, can you really make that object? Am I going too fast? Here we go. Okay, so it has got low poly stuff and his textured maps here. All right. Still would like to see the 3D so we can zoom around and get the, because this looks okay, but there is a video at the top. But I like to spin around an asset, see it in real time. Let's watch this video. I bet he does this, doesn't he? Spins around it. Oh my god.
Watch him do a breakdown of all
Yeah. Whoa. Oh. Yeah, the back is really weak. Okay. Yeah, I would like pump out all of this nice framing, like in the references here, like can you see the mouse? Like these sections, are like super strong, like goosh, like, and all this like really like it's,
You got it?
do you want to do it?
Yeah, cheers.
I love the detail on the references. It's big, fat, chunky stuff, very, very gamey. Imagine these in like all these like stylized MOBA games. Okay, I'll go on to the next piece. I had a look at this before I came, actually. Do you want to watch the video? Yeah. Because I don't know if he's tried to make this all himself. So this is something, I mean, this is an incredibly large body of work for any one person. Like, we have studios trying to make levels, you know, like this, and that'll take like a year. So when I looked at this, I thought some of the assets, yeah, they look great and stuff like that, but there's like there's something missing throughout this, and I think it's because the scope is so vast that maybe if you kind of condense that down. I've seen these really nice, I've forgotten what they're called. Diorama, yeah. So they're a little bit like easier to handle for, and so you don't need a studio of artists to produce like something like this. Like, did any of you play like Battlefield, like the Star Wars Battlefield? Like it's made like they made 4 separate biomes or whatever like that. That's what we do in our games. We make like a sandy world, a snowy world, a forest world, and or whatever, like something else. So he's like making a sandy world here, but again, we would have had like a studio of artists making like that. So trying to do that all by yourself, it's quite, it might break you, and you might kind of end up with something that isn't, that doesn't have the focus that something that's really going to blow you away. So I see a lot of people doing like little dioramas, and then nice get them in a game engine as well, like that. If you want to get into games, that is. So people know you can build stuff in games and stuff like that. So this one again, I don't know how he managed this. Like we built something like this for Three Kingdoms, where it's like this kind of like Chinese like fantasy landscape again. But I think maybe if we had have just kind of condensed this down into a single shot, because the risk you run is some of the assets here, you can see like maybe they're like kind of rushed, like the roots on here you could maybe, and the branches in these trees, you could maybe like improve some of the individual, and like the sculpt on the rock doesn't feel like this piece of rock, it doesn't feel like it's been properly formed like in through natural means. We when we try and build rocks and stuff, like you need the eye just to trick the eye completely to begin with. So like having the stone like kind of bulge out here and then cut in here and stuff, I'm not deceived by this, and I'm not sure these are like naturally cut in steps. So if this guy was here, I'd say that's how I would get him to progress to the next level. Is like make some of these, so make a really nice stone, make it believable in like geography terms or whatever, and these trees as well. Like I don't feel like this asset. It's like this branch isn't really blending off it. So although this guy's like done a really good job at making like these really vast things, and I think he's framed all these assets really nicely and made a nice atmosphere, I think some of the individual environment assets inside it could be a bit stronger. And I think the only reason, because maybe he's like scoped too much, he's taken too much on by himself. Oh, look at this. Cool. Wow, this is huge. Okay. So again, when you guys are building your portfolios, just have a couple of shots like this, like really nice wow shots, like, he's got a nice prop here. I'll move on to this substance work here, right? These substances are really nice just to prove. So if anybody who doesn't use Substance Designer, it's like a node-based program used to build like physically based rendering, physically based rendering materials. So in games, I don't know if you know about PBR, but like it's like PBR's been out for like, I don't know, a few years now. Like it's the way it's like rendering based on physics. So instead of different game engines all using like different calculations to render, how the object reflects back into the camera, it's now done by like a set of rules that they're trying to unify. So So this is Substance, and it looks super intimidating, like all these nodes and stuff, but it's just like it's kind of like Photoshop. Everything is kind of like everything you do in Photoshop, like blurs, is like a node, and then I don't know how much you guys have done or what programs you use, but it's very useful to learn Painter and Designer, Substance Painter, Substance Designer. Well, we use it at CA all the time. Nearly all the environment artists use this right now. In the games industry, like there is quite a technical. It can get quite technical, which puts off a lot of the artists sometimes, because some people just want to make like some really nice sculpts or some really nice pictures and stuff, and then it's like, oh, now get that in game, and they're like, oh, no, thank you. Like, can you just get somebody to do all that for me? But for us, we have to sort of put all this stuff into the game and get it working, get it as optimized as possible, so that we can run at like 60 FPS with particles going everywhere and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So overall, this rock here, I think it looks great in this render. I'm not really sure what I'm looking at in this one. So again, I think maybe the geometry in this doesn't complement his material too well, because I'm just seeing, like, I don't know, my eye doesn't know where to look in this shot. It's got like this kind of red blob here. This really kind of sharp bit here. I don't know. I would potentially just show this off in a portfolio.
What did you say the software was called?
Substance Designer. Substance Designer. It's here. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it looks pretty intimidating, but don't get. It's actually sort of like, it's just, it's sort of like Photoshop. You can sort of go inside like nodes, and it's like it can get quite maths heavy, and it's a lot of so like a lot of stuff in the game industry. It's like on the far end you've got like sculpting, and then it kind of gets more technical, and then suddenly there's technical artists who just deal with this kind of like mathematical problems to help the artist build stuff. And then if you keep going down that road, then you just end up becoming like a graphics programmer. Like, you know, there's like programmer, then technical artist. Yeah. So it's like a spectrum. It's like a slider bar. I had no idea what I was going to talk about when I go. I didn't really know what I was doing when I came here, by the way. So again, it's just more. I think this one, let's have a look at it. Yeah, this is nice. I mean, this viewer. It would be nice if I don't think this one's got the breakdown of how the textures are working. And I seem to remember looking at this and thinking like these textures are really blurry. If that's intentional. Again, like this is super, this is a lot stronger here than I think when it actually is applied to the asset. Like I would, if I was going to put this in the game, I would want it to be, I'd want this maybe these balls maybe to punch out a bit, get a bit more sharpness in this texture. Like look, if you look at this monitor's not, this projector's not that great, but like this bottom panel is super sharp, and then the asset next to it is almost like kind of, I don't know whether there's like some sort of blurring on it, like, but yeah, there's some sort of, whatever it's called, like tilt shifty kind of blur, whatever. I've seen this before. There's like levels of detail in your model. It's like try and keep them similar throughout all of your assets. Like this is super sharp on the base, and then blurry here, and it's the same with the chest. I noticed as well. There's like, see this like bottom paneling. There's just like this kind of blurry, kind of really indistinguishable kind of pattern on the bottom. I don't know, try and keep your level of detail consistent across the whole thing. So if you've got these big, fat, chunky things, just keep the bottom bit kind of nice and chunky and stuff. Or if you've got this really fine detail, try and bring some of that finer detail into this asset here. Keep your detail consistent through the asset. Last of Us. Did any of you play this? Last of Us? Yeah. It's one of my favourite games.
Do you have many people in the gaming industry, like designers, that do like environments analysis and that aren't really interested in playing games themselves per se?
A lot of the
That are
artists.
interested in the creation.
A lot of the artists are, yeah. Because if you play too many games, then you sort of end up just not doing anything, which is what I did for years. I think I just like got lost in the MMO worlds basically, and there's some people who are just like to make lovely little 3D assets and stuff like that, you know. And I think that's good. So. You want to see what people are doing, but just not get trapped in like playing games all the time. I think it's. Yeah, my friend Anya, she barely played any games. I think she plays a few, and she joins CA. This is like a really vast again. A huge amount of work he's done. He's building like entire levels. Was this guy pretty prolific? They're like making stuff, or maybe I'm just lazy. But
I don't think he slacked when he was on the course here at all.
yeah,
But this is a group project.
this was a group project. Okay, right, good.
4 of them though, so we're still
Okay,
a big model for it.
yeah. This is just quite a large amount of work. Let's go. I like this little piece because I can see it's a little game. It's a bit of a. I want to play this game. It looks pretty cool. I'd say maybe there's some stuff I would tweak with this. I would like maybe find some way of knocking back the unplayable area and focus your interest on the playable area of the game. So, you know, like I don't know if you saw this like in Diablo 3 or whatever, like they kind of desaturate all the environments and put all the saturated color into the characters and the VFX, so that you're always looking at the game. Like the UI is also very saturated, so your eye is led to this. Like here, my eyes are just like looking at everything at once. It's just like, why am I looking? Okay, so maybe if I was doing this, I would maybe dim back that brightening. I'd make these like pink little tree areas. I'd put some point lights in there and get them glowing and stuff like that. And this like water's really cool. You could get like that all like animated. Of course, it would be really nice to see it all animated. I don't know. But it's in here, isn't it? Okay. No. Again, there's this sort of like there's some like little fiddly little things. I mean, I would spot straight away as my game testing like kind of background. It's like this really annoys me that doesn't lead into it. Like you can look up tutorials on YouTube of how like to get waterfalls flowing, and they can look beautiful, and you can layer like shaders, like different texture layers on top of each other, and kind of get that all beautifully flowing down into the map, and then get all those caustic, like kind of bouncing light back off at the camera and get it looking really nice. And we could get like these little squares. I don't know whether they're like what they're for, but they could maybe glow and stuff like that. And I don't know. So I really like this little shot, and again, it's very contained, and it's a very nice little project. It's something that you could attempt to do for a project. Like I'd quite like to do something like this, like a little personal project like this. It's making me want to make a little personal project where it's like some little maze, and you could have it like procedurally generate. You know, that would be really cool. But I want to see it moving. Let's have a look at this last one. How long have I got? Am I well over? I don't know. 2 minutes. Sorry. I'll just stop here. It's fine. Let's just have a look at this. Okay, I'm just going to stop that there. Okay, yeah. So I think, yeah, maybe could have just all the assets in here. I mean, I think you could like just crank them up a little bit. What do I mean by that? I mean like, so there's just so many things in here again that like I'd really like to see like some really quality pick, like, you know, like that thing with the tree earlier, sort of like saying like, you know, like here, like I could maybe see this in a game, like, but is this actually a game? Is this like a mobile game? I don't know. Like, yeah. Is it? Yeah, I would like focus on like one area, like this core here, and have that have all animating, and have like kind of like right here with this just random frame. It's just like I can see glitches in stuff, and yeah. Anyway, it's nitpicking. Okay, so this is pretty cool. So I hope I've explained what you kind of would need to get into get a portfolio. So and like a couple of props, like get really tight, you know. Maybe something organic, maybe something hard surface, maybe like obligatory tank, or I don't know, or a gun. Like, but you don't feel like you have to do that. If you want to do something really pretty and stuff, like my friend got in through just flowers and trees and stuff like that. So if you want to just sculpt characters and stuff like that, or pictures. So anybody got any questions about anything? Hiya.
Okay, substance designer. One of the things I noticed is when you change the resolution,
Sure.
the texture changes a lot.
Sure.
Because the scale of some things change.
So so you're like trying to crank up your thing. So you start it as a 256 or something. So every single time you're regenerating a node, like your Perlin noises or something like that. They're kind of the noise is changing completely in them. So you will end up with completely different results. So either try and work out the resolution that you're trying to display the asset in, and if your computer can't handle that, like maybe do like, because I don't know, one step below or something. But every time you change something, you know, your noises are going to change. So that's like something you're going to have to do. So just try and work at a resolution that is kind of, you know, I've always heard like you should work double and then kind of scale it back down. I don't know. So sometimes I just work straight. Like with my terrain textures or something, I'll be just like. I know that the texture array is like a 1K texture array, so I will just build everything for 1K, and I'll just have it all looking nicely, and I'll have it rendered out as 1K, and just But some of my friends at work would be like, don't do that. Do it 2K and bring it back down to 1K resolution. If that's at all helpful. Have you got any more any other specific problems where you're like resizing stuff? Or?
Well, it's just, for example, if you're doing rocks or you're doing mods and then you change the resolution, I know it's like, for example, the texture will look completely different.
Yeah, just work with it.
Yeah.
How would you recommend keeping resolution consistency? You mentioned about parts being blurred.
Yes, good question. Yeah, so if you've got like a game engine or something like this, you can just create a checkerboard texture and just apply that material to absolutely everything, and then your checkerboard should be consistent across every single asset. Like you can see, some super sharp assets and stuff. So, and when you come to unwrap as well, there's when you unwrap your assets, make sure your texture kind of shells are whenever you unwrap, just chuck the checkerboard on there, and then you'll get like a nice consistency on your stuff. Anyone else want to make games? Got any questions? Go on, yeah.
How important is it to you in a portfolio to be impressed?
How important is it?
How important is it to have to show lots of different skills? Would you rather somebody that they were amazing at doing dark fantasy, but their portfolio is just full of it? Or would you rather someone show that they're multi-skilled?
I would say whatever is going to keep your interest in making new art pieces, do that. Because, I mean, if you've made like 1,000 like fantasy elf girls, like maybe you could make like, I don't know, something else. But there's some people out there who have great portfolios of just the same thing over, alterations of that. So I don't want to because if I say, do this stuff that you hate, then you just won't do it. Or if you do, you hate it and you won't love it, and that won't come through in what you're doing. So I try and make stuff at home that I, especially with me when I built my portfolio outside of a college environment, I kind of, do stuff that you enjoy. So I made a lot of buildings when I was trying to make my portfolio, so like Tudor buildings and stuff like this. So.
Do you feel it's important to tailor your portfolio to a particular studio?
So if you're applying for an environment art job, I would send them environment art stuff. It depends how good your other stuff is. So if you've got some really good characters in there, but if you've got kind of average characters, it might hint. I know they might be they might think okay, it might weaken your portfolio, but. So I definitely do think having a bit of variety is important. Like I said, with the guy who just makes machine guns or whatever, I've definitely heard the art directors say oh, come on, just make something else, So I would go for a bit some nice variety of stuff, hard surface, especially for environment art. I would go for some some plants, trees, bushes, rocks. When you make it a little diorama, if you have a little, a fixed place where you put your eye, a little building or something like that, and it has a tree and some stuff outside, something to you have a main guest at the party, and then you have a few other guests there, and try and make those if you it depends. You might get bored of making the same thing, so I don't know. Do you have a sort of a thing you like to make? Is that why you're asking?
No, I'm asking because I feel like my portfolio is all over the place.
Yeah.
And I always wonder.
Yeah.
I get a different answer every time I talk to anybody in industry. Some people say, I want you to be able to do a little bit of anything. So I can give you whatever. And some other people say, I'm probably going to hire you to do this specific job.
Yeah. I
I
know how Creative Assembly works. I don't know how other game studios work, but we have departments you have character artists, have some creature artists as well. So they will only do creatures. You know, building artists as well. And then you've got like terrain, and we have an artist who just does trees and stuff. So some people do just do kind of singular stuff, but then like when you're kind of junior or whatever, and you want to kind of show off that you can do a few things, you know, and you kind of don't want to put your hopes on one studio. You want to be kind of applying loads of places. So I'd kind of have a bit of a range in there. But you know, I don't know if you know whether you want to do art or environment art, character art, VFX, or technical art. I don't know what.
Environment artist, that
Yeah.
would be my,
Okay, so yeah, just like this is pretty good template. Just a few dioramas and just a few props, a few trees, and you know, a few rocks. Buildings. I'd say like 3 is a good number for everything, basically. If you can, 3 dioramas, 3. I don't know. Yeah, I hope that helps. Hey.
Is there any specific skills that you would usually aim for when you hiring someone? So you pointed out substance designer.
Yes.
Do you expect the environment artist to be really good with like texture creation or lighting or knows a bit of a VFX or just the environment creation?
Well, so you're asking, does a environment artist need to know about other things like lighting and?
Yes.
I think it's fairly important to light your stuff well and present your stuff well. So